All right, let's just give it a second for people to catch up or whatever. Hopefully people's streams start up and blah, 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 blah. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 19 of the Makercast. My name is Brian Locke and welcome to my channel. On the Makercast, we just talk about things that we've gotten up to for the last month or so in the world of making and maybe demo a few projects or that. So with me today, I have Seon, Unexpected Maker, Jon Oxer from Superhouse TV. We've got Arturo from Arturo 182, Adam Welch from Adam Welch, and Dave Darko from Elephant 19. Yes, so without further ado, you're probably familiar with them all already. If you're not, links are all in the description. Make sure you check them out. But let's start with Mr. Jon Oxer. Hello.
Hey, so I did something a little bit silly. Last weekend, I decided to do something for my own live stream because last weekend was my 50th birthday.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. And we're in lockdown here in Melbourne, Australia, which meant no birthday party, no events, couldn't have anybody over. So I did a live stream on my birthday and set up this thing, which is the Internet of Party Poppers. And right now it is live. Hopefully it's working. I'll show you a little bit of what's on here. You can see that there are a bunch of servos connected to Party Poppers. And on the back of it, oops, I'm not going to aim it at my own face. There is a Raspberry Pi Zero W. It's connected to a servo driver. And on that Raspberry Pi, there is a bit of Python. Oops, I've got to try to get this sitting back here again, which right now is watching the chat for this video. And it's looking for, this is totally mercenary. I'm trying to make money for Brian here. Anytime someone does a super chat or a super sticker, so if you donate to this channel right now, it'll set off one of the party poppers. And I think this is probably a really bad idea because right now in Australia, it's just after 6 o'clock in the morning. It's dead quiet in my neighborhood. And if this starts going off, it's probably going to set off all the neighborhood dogs and all my neighbors are going to hate me. But we shall see what happens. So there are only 12 party poppers on it. So if it runs out, it runs out. But if anybody wants to donate a couple of dollars to Brian's channel, use the super chat or the super sticker. And we'll see if anything happens.
There we go! Well done, Eric.
So fast.
It worked.
It
Excellent.
was so fast.
SEK guys represent.
Hey, it's working. We need to get this out of the way quickly or we're not going to be able to do anything else.
SEK gang is right, huh?
This is going to go off way too quickly.
It's all going to be gone very, very quickly.
That's all too familiar to me.
Oh, Brian.
Look, it's my channel. I can bring down the tone if I want.
Of course. So one thing that I just noticed when it went off is that I forgot to reset the counter. I just saw another one come up. Is it going to go? Maybe not.
2 more.
A couple more. There is a bit of lag because the script that is watching the chat.
Face it towards you, John. Face it towards you.
You're wearing
Brian, can you make it larger? Can you make his video?
Yeah.
Pull out my own earpiece. I can't hear anything right now.
Oh, I took Jon out of the stream.
No.
Oh, I'm shooting towards the camera.
This is going really good. How can I
Guys.
This is episode 19, right?
I don't know what it is. It's so... There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, now, the thing is that it started from here because I'd forgotten to reset the counter in the script. So there are another 4 that could be set off. But in order for that to happen, I'm going to have to kill the script and change the counter. Actually, no, I don't need to kill the script.
I'd say you're out of script or out of bangs. I'm now a rich man. I will retire and I'll see you later.
Retire and all that YouTube money.
Have a live stream next week. Do the same thing.
Well, I've at least 150 SEK, so I'm coming to Sweden.
Yeah.
I can buy 1 pint.
No.
Did you really just resetting the counter right now? So
on twice.
Go back to the start and the first 4 See, the first 4 haven't been fired because the counter was already up a little bit when we started this video. So hopefully
So
now
we're back to the start now?
we're back to the start, and it will go through the first 4. Maybe. I don't hear
did you
dog
have
bark,
to
so that's a
do?
good thing.
Did you have to do much with the YouTube API around this, or did you like get a library or?
I used a library. That part of it was actually super easy. I used a library. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's PYT chat, like PyT chat or YouTube chat. And that does it makes it really easy. You can just use a callback, or it can call your own function whenever a message comes in. And in the information that you get from YouTube, you get the type of message, like whether it's a regular chat or a super chat or whatever. You get the text of it, the name of the person who did it, and a couple of bits of information like that. So what I've got in my Python script is just looking for the type of the chat, and if it sees that it's super chat or super sticker, it sets off a popper and increments the counter. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing is like 40.
Nice.
It's about 50 lines of code plus the library. It's not really very complicated.
That's great.
Can I just say, so last week when John had it, he had it pointing at him. It was going off. And so not only were there like the little streamers from inside on his head like hair, but almost shat his pants every time they went off.
And at the end of it, I was must be almost Alex. Yes, there's one to go. I had a glass of water sitting just next to my computer, and I was occasionally drinking from the glass during the live stream. And when I looked at the live stream later, I noticed that in the bottom of the glass, you could see one of the little cardboard discs, and there's nobody in the glass. I was drinking from it. Oh, that was the last one. I can relax now.
Reload.
Well done, everyone. Great job.
Yeah, thanks everybody for contributing to Brian's channel. Brian's going to go away and sit on a beach now. You can retire.
Yeah, no problem. I'm currently on my staycation at the moment, so I can just, I don't know, go big and stay at home.
Yes. As of last night, here in Melbourne,
sorry, go ahead.
Here in Melbourne, Australia, we went to we had a state of disaster declared yesterday for CV19, and what is that? Stage 4 restrictions. Yeah. So we now have a curfew, not allowed to leave the house between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. and there are a whole lot of other restrictions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we are in deep doo-doo.
Yes. Okay, so all of that was not the project I wanted to show this week. That was just a silly thing to get Brian some of that sweet, sweet YouTube money.
Give me that money, everybody. Just before you move on to it, I did actually look, somebody mentioned in the chat about porting this, and I did work on this on a stream, and the format that the live chat stuff comes back is not very suitable for low memory devices. Like we were seeing something really weird, like it was showing the last like 76 chats. So say I said I only want to see 10 chats, it would show me the last 76 but paginated starting from the 10 oldest of that 76.
Oh, that's
so
horrible.
If you wanted to see like the most recent 10, like you would have to paginate your way through the, as in you'd have to do the first request, and in that there would be a next like tag, and you'd have to include that next tag in your next request. And like, I'm sure it's possible to do, but like, I think you'd just be better off doing it with a Raspberry Pi for sure.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. When I was setting this up, I was working with my friend Andy. The two of us were doing it together, and we went through the YouTube API. There's an interface that you probably used where you can send queries, and it gives you the results, and you can see what JSON comes back or whatever format you've requested. And it looked to me like it was only sending back small chunks of data, but I don't know. Maybe there's some trick.
Yeah, to actually get like the chat detail, like is in like the two important things to me. I wasn't even trying to trigger like super chat events or anything. I was just trying to get the message,
Yeah.
and I also wanted to see who sent it. And like there was a couple of different like parameters you could include to say like, hey, I want this information back. And the size of the message object you got back, if you wanted to see the actual message and who sent it, was pretty significant. Not significant for a Pi, like, but significant for
a
an
microcontroller.
ESP.
It's a different
Yeah,
story.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you could like you could do that pagination thing without requesting all that detail, and then just request the extra detail right at that last one. So like I think there's ways around it, but like I'm not gonna bother.
It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So the project I actually wanted to show, I've been working on a few recently, and sometimes when you're working on projects, it feels like all of the design decisions are obvious. Things like which chip should I use and how do I interface this? It feels like you're on the golden path and you are going from your concept to the end result really smoothly and everything falls into place. Doesn't always happen, but it's really nice when it does. And the project I've just been working on is one that is the exact opposite of that. Every decision that I made, there was no clear, obvious answer. Things like which processor to use, which interface chip to use. And I've been struggling with the whole concept of this and how to make it do what I wanted. And this week, the project took a whole left turn. So what this is about, this board here is called the Ether 10, which is an Arduino Uno compatible board with onboard Ethernet and power over Ethernet. And this design is 10 years old now. So this came out in 2010. And I wanted to do an updated version of this. So my challenge was to use a newer version of the Ethernet chip. This is based on the chip that was on the Arduino Ethernet Shield back in 2010, 2011. It's the WIZnet W5100. And I wanted to update it, but I also wanted to give it IPv6 capability. So what I did was design an updated version, which is this board right here. This is a prototype, and nothing fell into place. I'll hold it up there. So this particular board is a prototype. I received these PCBs last Sunday afternoon, unexpected Sunday delivery. So you can see it's got Ethernet on it. There's USB-C. There's an ATmega 328 on here, so same as an Uno. And there's a WIZnet W6100 interface chip on it for the Ethernet. And the 6100 has IPv6 capability. So what I wanted to do was make this a direct replacement for the existing Ether 10 design. And I assembled this prototype, and it just felt like nothing was working. Like things were working technically, but they weren't working in terms of my objectives for the project. And what I realized is that I had two totally conflicting sets of objectives, and that what I was trying to do in my own head was take two things that really need to be separate projects and mash them into one. And so just over the course of this week, this whole project has taken a big left turn, and I've split it. So instead of doing one board, I'm now doing two boards. So the two objectives I had, one was that I wanted this to be easy to just plug into a computer and have it work out of the box with the Arduino IDE, which means no custom board profile, no custom libraries. It should just work. But the problem is that there's no support for the WIZnet W6100 in the official Ethernet library, and the ATmega 328 doesn't have enough memory to do IPv6. So what I've ended up doing is forking my own design during the week, and I'm going to make two versions of this. One which is going to be the backward compatible version. So ATmega 328 with the W5500, which will work out of the box with the Arduino IDE. And the other one is a board that I'm going to be called, so that's the Ether Uno. And the other one is a board that I'm going to be calling the Ether Bear for historical reasons I won't go into. It's related to another board called the Baby Bear, which will have the W6100 and an ATmega 1284P processor. So to use that, you'll need a custom board profile and a custom library for the Ethernet chip. But the result is that it'll have IPv6 support and lots more memory, because the 1284p has much more flash, it's got more RAM, and it does more cool things. So I'll just see if I can share my screen here. Got to pick the right screen.
Just when you're getting that up, Jan. So can the old Ethernet library doesn't handle HTTPS? Do you think? I could be mistaken on that.
No, I think that's right. Yeah.
Do you think that the new chip would be able to support it, or?
No, not on an AVR.
Okay.
So
There's too much memory.
Yeah, there's just not enough memory. So this is this is what this prototype looks like at the moment, the one I've just been waving around in front of the camera. And it's a combination of the W6100 and the ATmega 328. So what I've done during the week is I've split this design, and I've got two versions of this board, one being the Baby Bear and the Ether Bear, and one being the Ether Uno. So it's basically USB-C, Ethernet, and power. You plug it in and it comes up just like it's an Arduino Uno, but with Ethernet and power over Ethernet support. And the other one, it looks physically almost identical. The only difference is that in fact, the size of the Ethernet chip is the same. The difference is that the main processor is a bit bigger because it's the 1284p. And the other advantage of that processor is that it's got dual hardware UARTs. So you don't have to use software serial for a second serial port. On digital pins 2 and 3, it's got a second hardware serial port. So you can do communications with other devices without using software serial. So this is what you see here in this render is what the project looked like as of last weekend, and when I started assembling this prototype, and then realized that I'd made a terrible mistake and I was trying to do two conflicting things when I should have just been treating it as two separate projects. So yeah, there's been a lot of progress on that this week. This is it's reached the point where now that I've figured out that I was off track, I'm just going to close that now. Now, once I figured out that my objectives for the project were wrong, all of a sudden, all the decisions seemed obvious, and it freed my mind, I suppose, to pursue it the way that I want to pursue it. So I think the lesson for me there is, in a lot of the time in engineering, it's all about compromises, or it's about working within the constraints that you've been given. You might have space constraints or price or power budget or whatever the problem is that you're trying to work around. But sometimes it's because you are trying to achieve the wrong thing. So often I will end up just trying to solve the problem because I'm determined to solve that problem. And sometimes I have to stop and think, am I even solving the right problem? And in this case, this week, I realized I was trying to solve the wrong problem. Or I was trying to solve two problems and I couldn't solve them both at the same time. So I split it, and then all of a sudden the design path becomes obvious.
But then it introduces a new problem, right? Which is that you've now got two boards that have similar capabilities.
Yes, but they have the thing that made it clear in my own mind is that they are two boards with similar capabilities, but they are for two totally different audiences. And I think that's a very clear distinction as well. So for someone who wants to, I think, yeah, the thing is that if all I wanted to do was make a board that was a drop-in replacement for the Uno, the path would be clear. There'd really be no question about it. But the thing is that I'm really interested to experiment a bit with IPv6 in very small-scale projects. And I think one of the things that is holding a lot of people back from experimenting with IPv6 in their own hobby projects is not having available a cheap board that they can just plug in and start experimenting with. Now, you can use things like a Raspberry Pi. You can do IPv6 on different devices, but to have a little microcontroller board with Ethernet that can do IPv6 if I had a couple of these sitting on my workbench, then I'd be inclined to experiment with it and I'd learn a bit more about it. But if you don't get hands-on with it and try to build something that interfaces with sensors and works with IPv6, then it's all theoretical. You're just reading about it. And I want to have a board on my bench that I can experiment with.
Okay.
John, I'm not too familiar with networks. I'm somewhat familiar, but what is the scenario where an internal device would have IPv6? I haven't come across that situation yet. Is it just to see kind of what's available to do with it, or?
Yeah, for me, it's at this point, it's largely about learning about it. We're in the situation with IPv4 where we should have stopped using it a very, very long time ago, many years ago. And I think technically the internet would be a better place if it was using IPv6 a lot more. And so it's very easy within our own networks when we've got a few devices in your own home, for example, if you're playing around with home automation or IoT, then you might have something in the order of a few dozen devices. You're not necessarily managing a network with thousands or tens of thousands of devices. But once you get out into large-scale sensor networks across the internet, then that sort of thing is the reality. A lot of people have to do that. So at a hobbyist level, this is really just about me learning in a very small scale on my own home network how this sort of thing works, and then how that could be applied on a bigger scale. But if you're just doing things yourself, you certainly don't need it. It's you can get away just fine with IPv4.
Sure. Just one other question then. I feel like I'm grilling people here, so hopefully I run out of questions soon. I guess it's kind of for everybody as well. You were talking about the direction of the projects, and as in your path wasn't clear or whatever. Does anybody ever do proper market research before embracing or embarking on a project? I know I don't, and I don't have a good reason why. To make the path clearer for yourself before you start. But I definitely don't do that. Maybe the most I might do is ask on Twitter, maybe.
Didn't you do that for the power blocker?
I don't think so. No. No, the power blocker. The power blocker I worked on literally 2 years ago. It was my first ever PCB. I didn't I might have said, "Hey, would people be interested in this?" But I didn't take any input. I got a lot of complaints about the lack of switch, but I didn't take any inputs to do that.
Right?
He was leading the switch brigade, but there was others. It was definitely the most mentioned thing to me anytime I showed it. Yeah, just curious. Does anybody else kind of look to see what's
it's really hard
wanted?
In this type of space? How do you really do market research? How do you
Kickstarter?
Yeah.
That's right. You got to, you either have to have, if you just ask a question about something, not many people can visualize it or necessarily understand how they're going to use it in their own space. But when they see it, it's a different story. Or if they see it being used to do something, that then sparks their imagination, right? It's really hard, I think, in this space to do any type of marketing.
Yeah, even kind of more granular decisions though. Say me and you were talking about micro USB versus USB-C, and we were just talking for a few minutes, and I was like, sure, we don't know the answer to this, so let's just ask people. Is it right. what do people want?
You did
and it was pretty split.
Right. And what was the results?
It was USB-C was more.
Right.
But what I really learned is that people will die on that hill. That was what I really learned. It wasn't. I didn't learn one thing or another. It was that people were gung ho. They're I'm not buying this if it's micro USB, and I'm not buying this if it's USB-C. Yeah. And I was all right, this has nothing to do with me.
At the end of the day, you can't please everyone, right? That's
This is true.
Well, USB throw star with 5 inputs and everything is on there. Maybe.
That'd be good from a size perspective.
Yeah.
Hey, you need a USB-C to USB micro B adapter? Here you go.
Now
Yeah.
here's a board with 4 USB-C ports. One's Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4, one's USB 3.1, 3.2, 3.5. There you go.
Yeah, that's the big problem. If you see that connector on the board, it really doesn't tell you anything at all. It just tells you the cable will fit. If you see the USB connector on a board, it means nothing.
Yeah. Oh, well. Thanks, Jon. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, no, that'll do for now. Thanks.
How about in your live stream, you went through like 50 projects in, was it 50 minutes or a minute per project?
Yeah.
That sounds like a really good idea. How did that go?
It was tiring, but it was actually kind of fun. So the quick explanation for people that didn't see it is that I set up a timer and had it overlaid on the screen. So it counted down from 60 seconds, and then it displayed the name of a new project. So every 60 seconds, I had a new project open in Eagle showing the schematic and the PCB. And then 60 seconds is up, move on to the next one. So in my Eagle folder, I've got more than 300 projects that I've worked on. So I just picked 50 out of that and then did 1 minute per project, which meant that I was basically speaking as fast as I possibly could for 50 minutes straight, and then took a big breath at the end.
I'd say you needed a drink at the end of the night. And I mean just water. Like
it was chaotic, but it was actually kind of fun. It was, yeah.
There's this thing called Pechakucha, I think is how you pronounce it. It's a type of storytelling, I don't know, where you do like 20 slides for 20 seconds each, and like you make them really text light. Like the slides are just mainly pictures, and you're meant to use it to kind of teach, or not teach, like tell a story. So it might be kind of like how you got into making, and you might have a picture of your first like computer, or that kind of stuff. Like I thought it, like I've seen it a couple of times, and I thought it was like a really effective way of kind of telling a story, or it was really engaging. I felt because it kind of reminded me of that when you were doing it. So yeah, great idea. So I'm sure that stream is still available on Jon's channel if you want to check that out. If you have a spare 50 minutes and want to see Jon struggle and talk as fast as he can, and the party poppers. Thanks a lot, Jon. Right, I think I said Dave Darko was going to be next. So, Dave Darko.
How unexpected. Woo. Let me just grab random things and hold them into the camera. So, I was on vacation and was going through my projects and found that I never really worked further on that guy over here. I'm not sure if anyone has seen this, but
I remember that. That looks really cool.
Mr. Robot inspired badge, and it uses the put my face behind the face. Doesn't work. Anyway, I'm using the Oshpark After Dark PCBs. It's a clear mask over the copper, and it's black material for the PCB, so that's pretty cool. And this is basically a tiny shitty add-on sound card for my Penguicorn badge. And let me turn it on. Oh yeah, it's going a bit wild, but there's a capacitive touch thing going on here. I think I have to unplug the... It's been a while. But yeah, it's...
The demo effect tries again.
Oh, it stopped. So...
Boop.
Boop, boop. I'm not sure how loud this is for you, but...
Oh, we can hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's super nice.
And when you touch the horn, it says, "Don't touch me." So I was thinking about what I could do with a shitty add-on that I haven't seen that much, and this is basically an I2C sound card that expects. I have no idea anymore. I have to look at the code. I was just soldering together another revision, and I thought I had them laying around, but somehow I just gave them away and never sorted them together. So I had to reorder them and wait for them for a while, and they came with another board that I've ordered. And why did I do that? It's like a complete mess on my table right now because I threw everything on here, and oh, there it is. Okay,
That never happens to me.
It's like a real maker.
I'm not a professional Arduino YouTube streamer, so yeah, this is another board the board came with that. This is an potentiometer with a clear shaft. So when you put an LED under it, it's never gonna be ready for us.
The actual under the base. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the stem.
So clear shaft, and then you can. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Nice.
If you want to see more detail, check Dave's Twitter. There's photos.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So the clear shaft just goes all the way through the body.
Yeah. So I was trying out a white potentiometer knob, but that didn't look as good as this. This is full brightness, 255. It uses the RGB yellow LEDs that I've bought from Charles Seon like years ago. He once made a video about how he likes RGB yellow NeoPixels because they have a better spectrum. Yeah, I finally used one of the LEDs.
So if I was, let's pretend now, and it'll take a big memory leap, that I'm not very smart. What is an RGB yellow LED?
So normally you get NeoPixels that are smart RGB, so red, green, blue LEDs that you control by just sending in a serial stream of data. And the RGB yellow, or red, green, blue, yellow, RGBY LEDs are basically the same like the ones with additional white, where you send 4 bytes for color and not 3 bytes.
Okay.
So that with a normal RGB LED, if you look at like the typical cycling NeoPixel, right, the range of color when it goes from red across, you almost see no yellow, no orange and yellow. Like it's the quickest part of the spectrum, and that's with traditional changing of RGB colors. They moved to HLS cycling to get a bit more range in that yellow, but it's still really tiny. But when you've got an RGB-Y LED, you get the full range of orange and yellow in that complement. And so it's a much nicer, beautiful, much nicer color out of it.
So whenever it's orange, or yellow, it's a bit more orangey, but yeah, whenever it's yellow, it's one LED that's glowing. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
You could say it shows potential.
Ooh. Where did you get the shaft? I don't know, or the potentiometer with the clear shaft.
It comes with the base. So when you find my Twitter thing, I think I have it. Do I have it? I don't know. Is it my top thingy there? Well, you can find it on my Twitter feed. There is Woody. He actually gave that to me in a bag of good things and a keyboard that Arturo uses in his projects. And yeah, so that was like 3 years ago, I think. So
they're now discontinued. So
no, they aren't. There should be a Mauser link in there. So if you're good to order at Mauser, then you're fine to go. I'm not sure if Charles sells RGB yellow LEDs, but you can put on any NeoPixel that you want. So
cool.
It's pretty nice. Okay, that was that. So yeah, I was just randomly soldering something together like an hour ago. This is one of the boards that I talked about, and I'm not sure what Makercast, but this is one of the boards that looks the same. This is the Servo Center like the automatic servo center thing that you plug into a power bank and then you attach a servo and it automatically gets centered. Because whenever you put something together, you want to have a centered servo so you can put on the little thing and then screw everything together, and then you know that this position is the center position.
Oh, that's so handy. I wish I had one of those. I could have used that a few days ago.
Yeah. It's like you don't always want to grab another Arduino and just write code that centers the thing. So I thought a dedicated device would be like cheap and easy to do, but I still have to write the code. I mean, for the servo, it's kind of easy, but then there's also the NeoPixel tester that I want to program. It's an ATtiny85 on there, so you can't really test that much LEDs. But when you write code that's more functional, so you just stream out the same data, then you should be able to control more LEDs. And that's something I wanted to look into, like to play with timers, because it's not that fast, so it should be doable. But it's like another big project that's taking so much time. And I have, like, someone mentioned the Space Invaders PCB that I did. I think that's close to a year now.
You definitely had it in
I brought it to
Hanover.
SuperCon.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for mine.
Yeah,
Didn't you have it in Hanover?
I was checking boxes the other day, and then I opened it and I was like, "Oh, I prepared kits."
Prepared kits and everything.
I've chipped in there LEDs and the boards, but I was I don't know. I don't have the code yet. It's not really done. So I want to ship out programmed chips that kind of give you the, hey, okay, it works and show Space Invaders.
How much soldering was in it? It was like 110 upside down LEDs or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's for the matrix, and then there are like 3 or 4 more. But yeah.
But it can be flashed afterwards, right? Like you could chip them and then.
Right, but that's another trouble.
Look, just put on your Tindy store. There's no code. Provided sans code.
Brian will do it for you.
No, I will not. I will not do a thing. I will not take on anything else. I don't even want to take on most of my own projects, never mind other people's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to find someone that's reliable and wants to code, and not just have something that looks nice.
It's definitely not me.
It's making a deadline for yourself, because from the moment you ship out the first one, you know you've got the time of the postal service until you got to have the software ready.
Right. I should just put it on Tindy, and Tindy allows you for 2 weeks not to send it out. So I would have the pressure of 2 weeks to ship it, to write the code. So
yeah.
Also, shipping is so slow right now. They'll give you an extra 6 months after you ship it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Oh, what? It is broken? Oh, I'm so sorry. Here, you can program it like that.
You do have an offer for help in the chat. Bob is.
Yay, Bob!
Bob is doing some cool stuff with Pac-Man matrices, or the matrix displays with Pac-Man. So
right.
I don't know. Could be a winner.
If I can see, if that icon is correctly interpreted with my eyes, then I think we've met at SuperCon.
I think he was at SuperCon, yeah. So there you go. When he's done with his Pac-Man clock. Yeah.
Okay, so just one more thing. I'm not sure if Brian, did we ever talk about putting colorful tape on top of OLEDs?
I saw your tweet like about 2 hours ago or whatever, and I was like, this does not ring any bells for me whatsoever. Right. So maybe it was some other Irish guy that you were talking to.
I don't know. I was like writing and posting a picture of colorful tape, and then was like, I'm going to test this.
It was a pretty board that you have too. Was that pink Uno, wasn't it? Or is it a Leonardo?
Yeah, it's the RGB Duino. There's also this one. I kind of had to buy them all.
Had to.
That looks amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cute. And there's this one that's
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's
so
the
cool.
Leonardo. So they all use the same printing technique, but two of them have the Atmega 328 on there, and some additional LEDs here, and a speaker and whatnot, or some transistors to control LEDs. I'm not sure.
So,
And
are
mine
they,
is-
so they're just UV printed, right? Like on
Yeah.
a UV printer?
yeah,
I was
But on a-
going to buy them.
I'm
And
so
then I
tempted
was
to buy a
like,
UV printer. So
I
tempted.
was like, what am I going to do with them? Like, is I never use Unos ever.
It's-
So, like, just because it's yellow, it's not going to make me want to use it.
it's just another Arduino that you throw in your drawer. And this one looks nice.
Lift it higher,
That's true.
Dave. Okay.
Oh yeah, I think it recognizes the font back there. Just
The screen
cool.
isn't that visible, to be honest.
there we go.
Yeah, it's looking better now. So, is this with the colored tape on top of it? Is it?
Yeah, so you can barely see it, and the more tape you put on there, it gets more fogged up.
Diffused, is it?
A bit
Yeah.
cloudy.
Frosty.
Yeah.
Blurry.
Diffused. Yeah, Adam's right. Diffused.
Kind of looks nice now, though. It's got a little bit of feeling of a CRT because the CRT is never that sharp. So maybe, yeah, I will try some other tapes when I get them. I had this in my drawer.
Yes,
copper
something
tape.
tells me those PCBs don't come from. Yes, that is true.
No. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think I showed everything on my table. There are a lot of PCBs flying around here, but if I do
Thank
remember
you.
correctly.
Thank you, Mr. Darko. I don't think you can call him Mr. Darko, right? But thank you,
can make me
Dave.
small again.
Yes, I will do that. Okay, who did I say was next? Adam, I think it was. So
Indeed,
Adam,
yeah.
new joiner. Welcome to the Makercast.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, I feel like a bit of an imposter, really, because unlike all these other people, I'm kind of showing somebody else's project that I just added a little bit to, I guess, which is this free deck, which I'll try and... Oh, I'm not going to be able to focus on this. My camera's a bit poor. No.
Just
Well,
wait till we
basically...
get to Arturo showing it off because he didn't even change
Spoilers.
anything.
Basically, this it uses 0.96 inch OLEDs. Is it any better further away? No, it's just rubbish. No, it's not going to show up. But basically, you can program each of these OLEDs, and behind each one is a small tactile switch, so you can press on the buttons and change things. But can we just? I'll just try and. Oh, making everybody sick.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry. Not better. Yeah, we can see that we've there we go. We can press onto the OLED itself and change the function. And basically, of course, this is all based on an Arduino Pro Micro there, and a couple of HC74405 multiplexing ICs, because the designer of this Killian is bit banging all these screens, and he basically uses the multiplexer. So because all these screens have got the same I2C address, so using the multiplexer, you can write different things to each of the screens. And I thought that was really neat and really clever. So I went off and I designed a PCB, which isn't something I'm particularly well known for. But actually, I ended up designing two. So there's that one that actually uses the Pro Micro, and then there is this one, which basically I've just disassembled the Pro Micro onto the back of this IC and put in a level shifter for the SD card, which is there, which saves all those images and actually the program that you're doing. So of course it's a HID device, so you can press the screens and it will interact with your PC and just send simple characters, which you can use in OBS, for example, of changing scenes, or it's got an advanced HID library which does the multimedia keys, so you can change the volume and that sort of thing. And I just thought it was a neat design. Now, of course, lots of people have said, because basically you're pressing on these OLEDs, pressing down on them and pressing a button, and lots of people are worried about the stress on the 4 pins there of the connections, or actually damaging the OLEDs themselves. But I can report that for the last month, this one has been on my desk at work, and so far no breakages. But we'll see. You never know, do you? Things could change. So yes, that's about it, really. I designed a 3D case and a PCB for somebody else's project, and I've got myself involved in that a little bit in this last month.
I think it's great, Adam. And like, to be honest, I do similar, like, regularly enough. Like, the stuff I'm going to show, like, some of them are like based around other people's work too. So like, I think you've definitely contributed to the project. There's no question about it. Like,
and luckily, thankfully, because of the video that I did and a couple of other people have done, that project is now getting noticed, and I don't think it was particularly before. I think it was Colin Hickey who actually pointed me in the direction of it. And I thought it looked really cool, and I'm not sure if he was talking to Seon about it at one point in the past as well. But yeah, I thought it was a nice. Yeah, I thought it was a nice project, using some simple components and cleverly using the multiplexer, I thought, to get over an issue, and it seems to work really well.
Yeah, so nice. I have one here, really nice, and it was your video that's how I found this project, so it was definitely useful. And then, yeah, I have the PCBs and I assembled one.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because everybody bar me has gone for a black PCB. And I went for a blue one specifically because the OLED modules are blue, and I thought it would look best on blue. But everybody else seems to have had them printed in black, which is lovely. I like the black PCB.
I think it's worth noting also that this project has also a very awesome web interface for configuring the pages and the icons and the functionality, which is something like I'm very impressed with, because when I do my hardware projects, I don't do web interfaces for them because that's not my expertise. So if I did this, you would probably have a JSON that you put on a card, and you would have to edit it in Vim. But this is so great that you can drag and drop and you can edit.
He's created a real product, I think, and the bit he was missing was he had a prototype on Breadboard with all the wires there and everything, and Killian did try and create a PCB, but it didn't quite work for him. So I just privately designed something and gave it a go, and once I knew it worked, I'll let him know.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of just collaboration on a project. It works
Absolutely,
really well.
Yeah. Thank you, yeah.
Killian sounds like a good Irish name too, so...
German fellow.
What?
Yeah.
Killian.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm probably not pronouncing it
I was
right.
like thinking Killian Murphy, that kind of solid Irish name.
Yeah, so... I think pretty much that's it for the last month. It's usually limited to a month, isn't it? They've been trying to fix some solar panels on the shed roof. Not so much making, but trying to fix and test things. Yeah.
So in general, I would say everyone who's new on the show can talk about anything that he ever made.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you haven't been on the last time as well, like if there's like 3 months between that, I mean, Seon can talk. I don't know, what did she do other than complain about Shanghai, which is deserved, but yeah.
Oh.
No, because you had to, not because you wanted to. Right?
Okay.
He's fought with a pick and place machine.
I thought I
would still managed to produce a lot of boards, so who knows who won? Right, Adam, is there anything else you want to show?
Not that I can think of at the moment, thanks.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Just before you move on, Adam, I really want to build one of those things. So do you want to drop a link in the chat, like in the video chat to your project?
Sure, I will. I don't think I'm a mod though, so
just type something first, and I'll make you a mod.
Okay.
Yeah, a very roundabout way is to go to Adam's channel from the description, then go to his video, and then there's a link there.
A link's in there, which is where I'm about to go to find the link.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm being lazy and making you do the work for me, but yeah, that's a really cool looking project. Nice work.
Yeah. All right. Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah, I've wanted a Stream Deck for ages, but never wanted to spend the money on one because they're ridiculously priced, the originals, and that's a great opportunity to.
The other thing about the Stream Deck that put me off is the software's all on the PC, and it's just a remote screen with some buttons, whereas the Free Deck, everything's programmed within it, so I can move that between machines, and it will do everything that I've programmed it to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there are limits, of course, because all it's doing is sending key characters and that sort of thing. So you'd need an OBS set up in the same way on that PC. But you can get it to, act on any PC without any additional software. You
had like a Notepad ++ icon, I think, on one of the things. What did that do?
So it was just a couple of. Let me. It's gone off. I think the power bank.
Like I'm just wondering from the, what commands did that send? I presume it opened Notepad++.
It could do. Basically, I've got it with some of the shortcuts that I'm not particularly familiar with. Just indenting, removing it, commenting out, changing from lower to uppercase, that sort of thing. So that's all I've just put in those Control K type. Commands.
Okay. So that's kind of like a folder for your next set of commands. It wasn't that button itself wasn't doing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that was my folder for Notepad++, because the thing, I use auto hotkey scripts on my computer at work, and one of the things I like to do is assign different keys depending on what program is open, to do. So the same key does multiple things depending on the program it's open. One of the things that I've struggled with is the web-based stuff. When you're in Chrome or whatever, and you go onto, I use things like Tinkercad and EasyEDA, there's no way for auto hotkey to realize what website I've got open. So this is really handy. So I've got EasyEDA and Tinkercad on here to actually have some of those shortcuts in it. And it doesn't need to know what website I'm on, but I need, so... Because I always struggled with the old style that I was making and sort of thing where I'd forget what each key was for.
Yeah.
This is one that I made with a rotary encoder on it as well. But I forget what the keys do, and then it's no use. So having the screens is really helpful.
Yep.
What about fingerprints on the OLEDs?
Again, not been a problem, but if you just occasionally just let your finger and wipe over it, it's fine.
They're not glossy, so you don't really see the fingerprints.
No.
So just a quick question: is it an ESP something plus an USB based Atmega, or what's on the hardware?
Sorry, it's an Arduino Pro Micro does everything, so it's just using the sort of usual HID functionality built into that 18 megawatt 32U4.
Where's the website coming from? Or is it just a generator online?
Yeah, it's a remote. It's not hosted on the...
Okay, I forgot. I'm meant to be sending that in, aren't I? Sorry, just give us a minute. I'll find that link.
Could have been like a rubber ducky thingy with Wi-Fi.
Save that thought.
I think that would be possible, yeah. If it's going to plug into a computer, though, I think you could do it over Bluetooth potentially with ESP32 as well, but you're still going to have it powered and have a wire, so it kind of might be a bit pointless.
Yeah, I made one with the tiny Pico before, and I don't use it at all. But I made it using like one of those like matrix button array things.
Yeah.
Like they're so cheap. They're like 50 cents or something. But similar to what you said, like I just kept forgetting what they did and stuff. So I was just like, okay. Yeah, I do have I have the shittiest Stream Deck ever project in my back pocket at some stage. Me and Steve-O Ludgate are working on it for the last year. And when we say working on it, I mean like not doing anything on it for the last year. But yeah, it was one of the, you can buy these like capacitive touch modules on AliExpress, and they have like little squares or whatever, and you can put paper on top of it, and it's still capacitive touch through that.
Okay.
So like you could print out, you wouldn't have the interactive, well, you could interactively go, I'm after opening Easy EDA now, slot in a new card. But,
Have it on a little rolly thing so you can turn it and then it rolls over.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
So,
I did buy some of the touch ICs that David Watts was using. I forget the number of them, but I did wonder whether you could use them behind the screens. I think there's slim chance, to be honest, but I also quite like the tactile response you get from clicking a button.
It even sounds nice what you have. Like it sounds clicky and nice. So yeah, I like it.
I mean, otherwise you could just use a big OLED TFT with touch thing anyway. So you want the click.
So unsatisfying though, touching a touch screen. You know what I mean? Like there's no tactile feedback or anything.
I mean, you could put a vibration motor under it, and then always when it triggers, it fires up the motor.
Yep. We're just building a mobile phone here by the sounds.
Absolutely.
We're getting there. Okay, thank you, Adam. I think that's a really cool project. Seon, do you want to go next?
Sure.
I'm not sure if I forgot the original order, but yeah.
Okay.
Just skip Twitter.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Okay. I felt like I haven't done a lot over the last while. I definitely haven't been doing any cool, fun projects. It's all been about production for me, but I've managed just recently to get some projects across the line that I've been working on for a really long time, been talking about for a really long time, but never actually getting there. So the first one is I finally have done my first production run of my RM fan controllers, which are basically a MOSFET switch anywhere from 5 volts to 24 volts to control a load, which was specifically designed for my Reflow Masters and Reflow Master Pro to be able to connect, whether you want to, put a high voltage fan on, or a couple of fans, or some people do things like linear actuators on their toaster to open and close the doors. And so this is a nice way to interface that directly to the Reflow Master, or to anything basically, any digital signal coming into this, you can control the load. So I mentioned when I first showcased this on my channel that, you can buy stuff like this for like $1.20 off AliExpress or eBay, but you can't really tell what's on those boards, and I didn't feel comfortable with people like connecting those to their Reflow Masters and controlling, I mean, I know it's not high voltage, but larger voltage DC type stuff. So I thought I'd spin up my own, and I finally got them ready. So hopefully I'll get to put those in my store maybe this week or next week. So that's pretty cool. So, I mean, that's been a long time coming, which I finally got that across the line. But I guess the thing that I'm really excited about is I finally started production of my Tiny Pico Nano, which is...
It's so tiny.
Come on, focus.
That is minute.
Can you show it beside a Tiny Pico?
Set. So here's one I prepared earlier. With some blue tack.
Nice.
What's it going to focus? Probably not. Can't even. Don't
Say
know
that
which angle.
Tiny Pico's smaller than your wedding ring.
Yeah, it's pretty small. Anyway, so interesting. It's small, and I could have made it smaller, but it was becoming like impractical to work with. Like at some point, it's got to be usable. So this is exciting because it means I can finally now make these boards for my Reflow Master Pros, because that's the key ingredient on my ReflowMaster Pro is a Tiny Pico Nano. So the whole point is so I don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time and put all of these components onto the PCB. I can just use my own module. For those that don't know what the Tiny Pico Nano is, it's basically a full Tiny Pico with everything on it except for the USB connector and except for the RGB LED because there's no room for it. And so basically it's a full drop-in microcontroller. So unlike a Room 32 or even one of the new S2 modules, I thought I had a module lying around, but I don't. But like one of these Rover or Room modules, that's just a microcontroller with an antenna. You still have to provide everything with it. You still need to stick an LDO on there. You still need to stick all the accompanying passives and everything else, where this is the complete microcontroller. It's got everything. It's got battery charging. It's got the works. So yeah, that's really exciting. And I'm going to share my screen just for a second. If it's going to let me.
It has more functionality and it's smaller.
Yes, and it's got stacks more. Well, it's got the same functionality, but I've managed to pretty much squeeze out every bit of I/O I can.
I mean, it has the LDO and such, so it has more functionality in that way.
Right, sure. Well, it's a complete. It's got PSRAM on it. It's got battery charging. It's got obviously the USB. It's still got the external USB because it's a Pico D4 with the auto reset, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. It's everything that you would expect from a microcontroller, but it's in a module format that you can just stick on your own board. So yeah, I was really umming and ahhing about this whole project for so long about whether it was worthwhile doing or not, but I'm really glad I have. And I've just, you can stop sharing my screen now if you want, Brian, please. I've got my first, hang on. This is pretty funny because of how small they are and the size of the bags they're going to be coming in. They're going to be shipping in the same size bag as a Tiny Pico. Hang on. But I've got my first, I'm sure if you're going to be able to see, this is my first production run. It's just a whole lot of stuff in my hand. And this also validated my test jig, which my new Nano test jig, which I put together on my stream over a couple of streams. So I can just connect the Nano. There's one in there that just went through the test. So they just connect via Pogo or Frogo pins in and out. So they clip in, and if I can get that one out, just clips out. So that's how they get tested. So that's really exciting. But it's funny, they're going to go in the same size bag as a Tiny Pico because I've got to fit the card in, the pinout card. And I can't make the pinout card any smaller. You won't be able to read the numbers on it. So it's pretty funny. And so now that I've got that kind of in a state where I can produce them, my next step, hopefully starting this week, is to start my production of my Feather S2s. So that's also another milestone I'm about to hit that has been on the burner for a really long time. So I feel like although I've not been doing much fun making, as in making any projects, haven't really been doing any laser cutting, or I've been doing quite a lot of 3D printing, but it's all been utility stuff to help me with my production. I've done nothing what I would call enjoyable as a maker for me, but I've done stacks of getting stuff that I've been working on for ages across the line, and that's been, I guess, quite rewarding for me. I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel now with all of these large projects I've taken on, and hopefully see lots of opportunity coming up over the next month or so to start working on some of my other ideas that I've had, like, again, a GB logo for my back wall would be really cool. Some other things. So yeah, that's basically, I guess, it for me. Trying to think if there's anything else to show.
Also, don't buy Charmhide.
No.
Where's the T-shirt?
While you're looking around.
Where's the T-shirt?
Seon. So it's really good to see that on that new ReflowMaster Pro, you've used your own board on it, because the original purpose of that project was to make it easier for people to build projects and not have to put everything on it from scratch. Just put it on the module and it's ready to go. So you're proving your own concept there,
Sure.
which is cool. And have you seen examples of things that other people have done by building your boards into devices? Obviously, it's too soon for the Tiny Pico Nano.
Well, yeah. So interestingly, there's quite a few people that have built Tiny Picos into their projects, into really small projects, which I guess the Tiny Pico is small, although I look at it now and I consider it big. And I just bent.
It's all relative.
Yeah. So no, people have been doing it.
So
like there's wow. I'm not going to be able to pronounce his surname correctly. Hang on.
It's Brian.
He calls himself Martin the Creator. Martin Fassini, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
He has built an e-ink watch that he wears around the place, right? He's got a Tiny Pico inside it. And the way, I got to say, like I was almost horrified the way he's soldered the pins and kind of squeezed everything into this thing, but he's actually walks around with a fully functional e-ink watch with a Tiny Pico inside. Some guys on my Discord that have done like remote controls for all different things, with Tiny Picos inside. So a lot of those guys are interested in the Nano because it's obviously stacked smaller, more versatile. I mean, like even John Spencer, another Aussie, another Melbourne guy, he made a ruler, an electronic ruler, and he used a Tiny Pico on it. But what he did, he wanted it castellated. So he took the RAM off the back and then he put it on the board and he soldered it down like it was castellated edges. Obviously, quite a permanent solution he made. But yeah, like I'm excited to see what people will do with it. But for me, it was all about, like, if I was to take my Reflow Master and put the components on the board directly, I would probably have to, not just because of, I mean, it's a big PCB, but I'd probably have to go 4 layers to do it properly, to get good RF, right? And so to take this board here and turn this into a 4-layer board, just the cost increase for the PCB alone is, is saved by doing something that's modular like this. I mean, the disadvantage of using a Nano over using a Tiny Pico is a Tiny Pico you could technically plug in and then you could take it out and use it on something else, where the Nano, it's a permanent thing, it's a one-way thing. But it should really simplify putting a complete ESP32 solution onto a board for people. I don't know how well it's going to go. I've got no expectations I'm going to sell many of them. I'll probably end up using more myself than I'll actually sell, but that's okay. Like, for me, it was about the doing it, the achieving it, actually, getting it done and having it work really well. And I'm really happy with the end results.
Yeah, you should be really proud of it. It's a great little board.
Thank you. Thanks.
When's it available, Seon? I see handfuls of them this week.
Yeah,
we see handfuls of them.
Yeah, I've got my website ready for it. So another thing that I did over the last little while, I'm going to mention in my stream, is I've consolidated everything finally onto my Unexpected Maker website. So I've got a shop on there. So I used to sell stuff in all different places, and it was hard for people to, like, people couldn't buy a Reflow Master and something else that wasn't on Tindy at the same time because they had to pay for shipping on both. So I've consolidated everything onto my own store. And so, I'll be launching these. I'm hoping this week. I just got to put the store page together. But I've only got 20 I've built so far. I didn't want to mention it. I'm not looking forward to building the next batch or two. Hey, Jason. Yeah, Jason's mentioned on Twitter he wants to use a few. I'm not looking forward to let's just say that my current infrastructure, I'll use that word, is not very good at producing these boards. So,
Don't put your project on that.
Yeah,
that's TNT.
Yeah, but I don't want to PNP them because this is the panel. Can you just zoom in? Can you go big again for me? So this is the panel that I come on. So I had to hand panelize this because JLC PCB wouldn't do it. They have a new rule where they won't, if the board has more than 2 castellated sides on it, and mine's got 3, they won't panelize it for you anymore. You have to provide it yourself. So not only have I never provided my own panelized boards to JLC PCB before because I've never really needed to, but this is really delicate. So it's a 0.8 millimeter PCB. And as you can see, it's only attached vertically. They're not attached horizontally. So this is really flimsy and fragile. Like this can be bent so easily. It's really delicate. And I wasn't really thinking about that when I designed it, because getting this in and out of my stencil holder and then getting it onto the pick and place machine and pick and place and off and into the reflow oven without snapping the board is proving I have to be really careful, put it that way. But
you have to make sure it's well supported from underneath.
Well, yeah, it is well supported.
Stenciling it.
Yeah, but that I mentioned on a video the other day that hasn't showed me another flaw with the machine, that the two panels that hold the PCBs together are not parallel.
Oh no!
So and I hadn't noticed until this board, because even my Tiny Pico panels, they're not flexible enough that you could tell. But as soon as I put this inside the machine, it flexes one end of it and it bows it, and it's quite a lot. There's about a 3 millimeter rise on the board.
Wow!
And so I've had to actually build a
3 millimeter. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really yeah. So what I did is I built. I've 3D printed a whole bunch of different inserts. Right, I've got about 7 lying around to brace the other side of the panel to offset the whatever the lack of parallel that they are. And I couldn't get it right, and I was spending so much time 3D printing. The printer's not accurate enough to do the small substeps. So what I ended up doing was I got the one that was closest, and then bit by bit I would wind a bit of tape around it to make it a bit thicker, and then try it again, and then tape more, try it again, until I eventually got it twisting the things the opposite direction to stop my board from flexing. Like it was, yeah. And I'm doing all this with paste all over the board, which is obviously taking time, and I've got a certain window of opportunity to paste the board before I have to discard it. And I was sweating. Let me tell you, I was sweating and I was panicking. I didn't want to have to, like, wiping down paste off this board. I probably snapped the board. Right? Like I felt like if I had to discard the paste on this board, I would have had to throw it out. And these boards are really expensive. Like, yeah. Anyway, the point of showing this was I can't hand assemble these. There were 20 nanos on a panel. It takes me about 2 hours and 15 minutes to hand assemble a Tiny Pico panel, and that's 15 boards, although there are 6 more parts per board, but this is 20 boards. There's no way I could hand place this without the paste going bad. So, yeah. Anyway, it's been a fun adventure, as you all know, but no T-shirts, nothing. Yes, Dave?
Not so serious question, but have you considered that the bend in the boards, so whenever a part is placed, that the part after it's being placed and the board flexes back, snips off?
Well, that's why I got to get rid of the flex on the board. Right?
Yeah, right.
But in this case, I'm more worried
There's
about
no
the
flex
board
anymore.
snapping. Right, because I got the mouse bites on this as close as possible. Yeah, anyway, but in general, no, there's no flex on the board, like with my Tiny Pico boards, because JLC V scores are really bad anyway. Like they never cut them deep enough, so they're always hard to break. So yeah, I've never seen any flex on the board until this.
I was just kidding. I'm sorry.
Sorry, what?
I was just kidding. I'm sorry. I was messing with you because parts were all over the place. I was really confused by the 0402 parts that were between the relay socket. I was like, where, why, and how did it get there?
They're not in the file. They are not in the file.
But those were the most consistent in the whole panel.
Yeah,
That's true.
It's like it has to go 15 steps, but there's another step missing, so there's an offset and continuous, something like that. Or
check out my video I released yesterday. I was building my reflow masters on my pick and place machine, and there was this weird stuff that was happening where I was placing parts that weren't in the file. So what I did, I took my board after I edited the video and got with uploading, and I stuck it under the nozzles in every direction I could possibly stick it to try to determine if maybe when the pickup head was picking up one part that accidentally one of the other nozzles was picking up something from a different feeder. Like, I couldn't work it out.
Oh.
But there's nothing that lines up anywhere. There's nothing that lines up, right? And the part that it was picking up is honestly, hang on, is that far away. Is that far away from the nearest part that's used on this board. I don't understand what it was doing. I can't explain. What I need to do is get another empty board, put tape on it, right? Because I'm out of parts. I can't build any more Reflow Masters right now. So, but I can tape a board up and just experiment with it. And I'll probably do that maybe today. I don't know, to try to solve it. There's a corruption in the file somewhere, whatever. I don't know, whatever it is, but it was hilarious. I was more intrigued by the 3 caps that were imperfect and then the 1 resistor instead of the cap. Like that's even worse. Like, how did that happen? Like, I did 4 panels and every cap was in the right spot except for one board had 1 0402 resistor instead of a cap. Like, that makes even less sense. Anyway, the joys. So much fun. Anyway, I think that's me. Yeah.
Should have worn the t-shirt. I would have accepted it.
I didn't want to, but I've got another t-shirt that I was going to make, but I didn't get a chance to. I was going to do it last night, but it didn't happen. But I want to, hang on, maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll load it up and show you what t-shirt I'm going to make. If I can find it.
Don't charm, buy high. The door thing that I made.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm coming. Wait. It's coming. Okay.
Oh.
So I'm going to print that out last night on a t-shirt for today, but I didn't want to make this Makercast a political statement. but there you go.
Where
Next
would
time
you?
You tattoo your knuckles that says like charm and then high, and then it's like charm high instead of pity.
Don't
fool.
buy. All right. Thanks, Seon. Arturo.
Yes.
You're up.
Yes. Hi, I'm Arturo from Arturo 182. I just like that intro. So I haven't been on for a few episodes. I'm not sure how many, but what I've been working over that time is I've been setting up my home lab here. You can see I'm actually in a different place in the room than I'm usually at. So I wanted to, yes?
Like 40 centimeters to the left, or?
Yeah, like 1.5 meters. It's one desk and then this desk. But I just wanted to kind of show what I have set up here. And I've streamed also a bit unpacking and setting up stuff. But I think it's just nice because I'm really happy with the setup I have here now. So I can actually work on stuff properly and stream. And let me use my free deck to change my camera. There we go. So I don't know if this is going to be very shaky, maybe not super shaky.
Sorry.
Yeah, so you can see here, I have my nice lavender mat. I got a way proper microscope. I have this nice drawers with components. There's the free deck. I have a confidence monitor where I can see myself and stuff I'm showing, and then a bit of parts here, and then gotta move it slowly. Yeah, and then one other thing that I've done for this, for this setup, is I got a TS100 and I printed this nice, it's not my design, but it's a very nice case, portable case for the TS100 that I think this one has been covered on Hackaday. So it's just quite a nice design. I thought people should know it exists because I really like it. It has a, what is it called?
Bearing.
A bearing?
Here,
Yeah, I
exactly.
really like that.
Yeah. here, so you can actually use it also as a stand. It's quite nice. Yeah,
That's very
and
clever.
many people were asking, does it get so hot that it melts the plastic? But I've been using a similar design here. This is my design, actually. So this is like just a very basic stand, and I also copied the bearing. And I've been using it a lot and have zero problems.
Well, I guess
don't
the
think
design of a bearing means that there's actually not a lot of contact between the middle
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
outside for low friction. So, yeah.
I think as well the TS100 doesn't get that hot up there, like as in. Yeah, I
okay.
know it's part of the tip, but like it's not the same temperature as the tip,
Yeah.
not even close. Like
I mean, you can even see it got pretty, well, pretty brown here from the temperature, but not really here. So
Yeah.
you can see the discoloration. So it's quite a nice case. And then
and pile of stuff just mentioned, can you use it as a fidget spinner at the same time?
yeah, you could see it when I was asking. You can.
Nice. Just a bit too long, but
Yeah.
close.
And then what I've been working. All right, and I can quickly, slowly pan. Slowly, yeah. There
I
you
like
can
your
see
camera arm too. That's clever.
Yeah, it's just a IKEA lamp
Yes.
arm, and I have the same here for the microphone, so I can bump into the microphone all the time. But yeah, I have the SMD version of the free deck with black solder mask. And yeah,
And your
it
camera's doing it far more justice than mine did.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we can show it even
I have
closer.
another question about that thing. It's using 4051s, right?
Yeah.
I
I mean,
believe
or
so, yeah.
is it using that for the I2C, or is it for something else?
Yeah, Adam mentioned it was bit banging the I2C on the.
Yeah. So the clock is shared across all 6 screens, and then the data pin is multiplexed across each one.
With the 4051?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the buttons also use the other 4051 as well, so that you're using less pins, basically.
Okay, that's an interesting choice for. Nice. Okay, sorry for the interruption, Arturo.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point of the meeting, right? It's not just me talking, there's questions.
Yeah.
Right, and then another thing, this is a actual project I've been working on. So I threw together this pretty quick design, which is not focusing. But what it is, it's just a ESP32S2. There's a room here, and then battery charging and just a nice LCD. And I was thinking of putting this one also on Tindy because it's so simple and it's actually quite cheap when you consider just like the amount of components. I know it's more components than on a tiny Pico, but it's also a full, fledged board with the display. So I recently got Arduino working on it, which was just changing some pins. And I also got the very early CircuitPython port working on it. So it's something I'm looking into getting on Tindy sooner than later. But one thing, I guess we don't have to discuss it now, because I was wondering, because Seon, you're working on the Feather S2, but the CircuitPython, I know there's been discussion with Scott about the reset circuitry, because you can't use the UF2 bootloader. So there's been some discussion there how to proceed with that.
Yeah, he's looking at doing an RC circuit on a different pin and pull that pin and then tell it to reboot.
Exactly. But on your Feather, do you just go for 2 buttons also?
Yeah, I'm just using the 2-button approach, but that's all going to change. Like, I don't have to do that anymore in the Arduino IDE because I've been working with Espressive on how the USB is going to be handled. And when that then gets ported back into the IDF, technically it'll work the same way for anything that's built off the IDF. where once it's been flashed the very first time, you don't need to put it into download mode anymore. You can tell it to automatically enable the CDC whenever the USB is connected, assuming that you don't switch the USB mode to something like, mass storage or HUD or something else.
Yeah,
Not a feather.
exactly, because there was a comment that it's a feather, but because of the size of the module, you can see here, it's really, really on the, I couldn't make it the same size as a feather. It's 1 pin wider. So you can see here, comparison to a feather. It's very similar, but it is wider, which is also, I know, confusing. So I have to find a way to mark it that this is not a feather. It's not compatible with feather wings, but I still like the form factor, so I don't want to change that. So that's a challenge in a way. But that's really great to know with the flashing, because right now it's actually not so bad flashing through the USB. It works quite well. You just have to enter manually. But
so for that design, you're not using a USB to serial chip?
No. So you can see the only circuitry here is for the battery charging. There's an LDO and just some stuff for the backlight and decoupling. So there's no there's no UART to USB. So I go directly into the ESP, and it seems to work quite well.
This is a dumb question, but how do you hold the LCD down to the PCB?
So on this one, I used a very thin double-sided tape, but I made one more, and there I have these, actually, just a moment, I can show you.
Because I have this is a very poignant question for me, because I have LCDs coming.
Sorry, I had my headphones on, so
I have LCDs coming, so this is very poignant for me, as in this is going to become very useful information.
So I also, on Tindy, some people might know, I have this BlackBerry keyboard P-Mod, and that one also doesn't really have a way to attach to the board. No, can you still make me big? Yeah. So the way I solved it there is I have this reel here of these are just double-sided tape stickers. You can see here, and that's how I attach the keyboards. And this is how I could also use for this. So just cut it to shape, or you can get them in different shapes, and then shouldn't be a problem. So this reel, I believe, is like 2,000 of them.
AliExpress special, or?
No, this one is from UK, from eBay. But yeah,
okay.
Probably you can get it also from Ali and cheaper. But I kind of stopped ordering from AliExpress because Sweden is funky with that, so to speak. But this is just like a throwaway project that I did because I wanted to see how cool the ESP32S2 is. But then this one is more main one in the recent weeks. Focus. And this is flappy. So what this one is, this is a breadboard power supply that also doubles as a development board, because you can see it connects here into the breadboard. So you have many GPIOs here that you can connect to, and then it runs CircuitPython. So you can just toggle those pins, run whatever sensors you want connect. So I think it's quite nice for, as you can see here, it's all in one. You just plug it into the breadboard, and then you can easily connect whatever you want and play around with that. And if you see here, it's quite messy, quite bodgy. This is revision 1. So the way it works is that you always have a 3 volt and a 5 volt, but it also connects into the power rails here, and that's an adjustable power rail. So you can set it from the MCU to like between 1.6 volt and 12 volt. to whatever you want it. So I think like if you want to power motors or stuff like that, you can do that. And then my idea is with the display that you have a UI here, 3 buttons, so you can actually modify the voltage that you want or current limiting, stuff like that, directly from this board. So you don't really need a PC. You just write your Python code and you can take it on the go. And then I was thinking you could also have a very simple like a logic analyzer, so just graphs the state of the I/O. Oscilloscope, I probably don't have enough cycles on this SAMD51 that I have here. But yeah, this is first revision prototype, so nothing is really final here. It's just for kind of research, because I haven't really done with like DC converters that much. So I wanted to see if I could get it to work properly. And then you can also see here, there's actually 3 ways that you can power it. So have USB Type-C, and there's a power delivery chip here. So in theory, you should be able to force it to provide 90 watts. I haven't tested that yet. You have the standard DC jack here, so you can just, 9, 12 volt, whatever. And then also the battery circuitry, which as you can see is not soldered yet, not tested. There's a NeoPixel here. And that's pretty much it. This is a very standard, like if you see this is just a SAMD51 QSPI flash. So this is a very standard like CircuitPython. And this is the power circuitry here. And I can maybe explain for educational reasons how the adjustable voltage works. So this is, as I said, a DC converter. It gets 15 volt. There's a second one here, or a first one here, actually, if I put it on camera, right there. And it takes whatever comes in from any of the 3 power inputs here, and it boosts it to 15 volt, because then I have a known voltage. I don't have to worry about, am I getting 5? Am I getting 9? Am I getting 12? Whatever. It's not super efficient, but that's something to worry about later. And then, yeah, this one always gets the 15 volt in. And then there's a feedback circuitry where you have 2 resistors that adjust the voltage on the adjustable rail. And I have a I2C potentiometer here. So that one, I can control I2C, the resistance of it. And that allows me to adjust the feedback pin on that DC converter. And that adjusts the voltage that I'm getting. And yeah, here you have the current. So there's also a current measuring, current sensing circuitry. So you can you can monitor how much your circuit on the breadboard is consuming. So I guess it could also be used for profiling your power usage, stuff like that. And
you put a lot of work into the power supply part of this. That's really involved.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it, but it seemed the most logical, because you never really know what voltage you're getting in, because this can be 5, it can be 9, it can be 20 volt. The battery also changes from like 4.2 to 3.78 as it discharges, and DC also can be 6, 9, 12, whatever someone puts in. So I thought boosting it first to a known voltage made it a lot simpler, but the efficiency is not great. So that's something to
do you need to worry about the efficiency though in a breadboard package like that? I mean,
I guess not if it's connected to something like the USB from a laptop or the DC. But if it's running off the battery, then I would want it to not drain the battery in 5 minutes. But I'm also I'm not 100% sure if I really need the battery, because it introduces more problems than it solves. But I really like the idea of being able to put something on it and just take it on the go, take your breadboard for a walk or something like that. But I have a demo here, so let's see if it works. So I put power. Yeah. So I have just a very simple program here that shows me the rail voltage, and then you can see the current consumption and then calculates the wattage. And I have it hard.
Have you done work with the FUSB?
Sorry?
Have you done work with the FUSB?
Nope,
yet?
not yet. It just works out of the box, so I'm good for now.
The FUSB is the USB-C power delivery chip. Is it the 3200 or something, is it? Or 3200?
I don't remember the number right now.
So,
But
something like that. It's FUSB something.
It's something, yep.
Something.
I want to zoom out, but then it doesn't focus. Oh, I just got a sub. Thank you.
That's on Arturo's channel. So he has notifications set up on his OBS.
Yeah, exactly. This is my setup for my streams. Come on, focus. Yeah. So I have this DC load here that you can adjust how much current it's consuming. So I'm going to just connect it, hopefully the right way. And then you can see, yeah. So now it's like very few amps, but as I keep adjusting this one, yeah, 200 amps. So it's quite responsive, that current sensing circuitry. Yeah, this focus is crap. But as you can see, that part works. And I was thinking you could implement constant current just by starting to, when it goes over current, you start lowering the voltage, stuff like that. But this is more an experiment than anything concrete just yet. So get out of frame. There we go. So we'll see how that goes. And that's pretty much what I've been working on recently. Questions?
Cool. How was your 2-week vacation?
It was actually 3 weeks. It was, you know how it is. I was planning to make these boards before. So I order them and then they come first week and I have all this time, but I have another subscriber. Can you hear the noise also?
No,
No,
we don't hear the noise.
There's a tune. But yeah, things slipped in time. So I only had 2 weeks because it took a week for this to arrive. But I'm still quite happy. I've been streaming the assembly process of it. So that's quite an interesting experience also. I haven't been streaming that much before. And that's why I wanted kind of this setup here to be able to do this. So I'm quite happy.
Has anyone ever finished a project in the time they thought it would take? Because I have the exact same. As in, if I go, I have 2 weeks off, I'm definitely going to get loads done. I never do. Never.
Yeah. I think last time I had a hackation, as I call it, which was when I was between jobs. I just took a month off just to chill. I actually managed to build a design and manufacture it and test my first Linux running board, and that actually turned out quite well. It was the SAM A5 something, Cortex A. That was quite fun. But yeah, things
Was that the board that you brought to Congress?
Yeah, so that was 2 years ago.
When we met the first time?
Brian, the key is you set yourself either really long project timelines or you don't put a deadline on it, right? And then whenever you finish anything, it's on time.
It's true. It's like a wizard. Just never arrives late.
Captain, I need 3 years.
Wizard arrives exactly when it means to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess the problem is not getting distracted. Another sub. And as I was saying that, I got distracted.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
But-
All right, does anyone have any other questions for Arturo? All right, thank you, Arturo.
Yeah, thank you.
Last and certainly least is me. Okay, so let's get into it. How do I do this now? I think I can actually make myself be big in this one, right? Yeah. So you can join in on my quest. You can only do this when you're the host for some reason. StreamYard, if you're watching, sort that out.
Wow.
Okay, so what you see there is a demo from one of a new matrix library that I'm using. So I made a new design for my for matrix boards. I don't know if, yeah, that's focused enough. So you will notice if you've ever used any of my matrix boards that I sell on Tindy before, the one I picked up was actually one of the new ones. So here is a Featherwing one. That this had an output connector, and what that was used for was to connect that to the output of the panel, because PX Matrix library used to like use, basically there's 2 shift registers for each color as far as I know, and they use the output of the first red shift register as the input into the second red shift register, because originally it was written for the ESP8266 that didn't have enough pins to control all the things that it needed to do. So that was a pretty clever, oh, that's very bright. That was a pretty clever way to get around that, but then it kind of got brought forward to the ESP32, which didn't need that. So this is a different library called the I2S matrix library, and it uses I2S, which I don't really know anything about, but it works very fast. So yeah, so this is something I've been playing around with. It's available on Tindy now. So a couple of my projects are based around that. So this one here that's doing its thing is just a demo from that library. But there's actually something a little bit kind of special about it in some ways. So Jason, actually, I'm not 100% sure what your involvement is in this, but his name is written on the example, so I presume it is something he wrote. So thank you, Jason, for sharing. So when you connect multiple panels up together, the PX Matrix and this new matrix library treats them as if they are connected horizontally. And Emily Velasco on Twitter got my board, and she wanted to connect them vertically. And I was thinking, like, oh, there must be an easy way to do this, or there must be an easier way to do this. And so I got up. One of the dogs got me to go up to one of the dogs got me up when they wanted to go to the toilet, and I took my phone out while I was bringing them out, and I saw Emily's tweets, and I was like, oh, that's a problem. Yeah, what am I going to do about that? And I thought, oh, maybe I could use Adafruit GFX to create a virtual display that looked after the mapping for you. So, like, as in the library, the matrix library still thinks it's like this, but you create a virtual display that you draw onto that, you know, is shaped like this, and it will look after mapping it back to the other way. And so if you've never used Adafruit GFX before, what it's meant to be for is kind of like a wrapper around display libraries, so that like it gives a common interface for if you want to write text on something, and if you want to draw squares on something, or do whatever, like that's common between all the different displays, and you just have to kind of set under the hood what happens. So like in its most basic implementation, you can, like, Bitlooney was telling me when he was doing his VGA board that he added Adafruit GFX support, and he like implemented one method and that was it. I was like, what? That sounds crazy. And he's just said, yeah, I just implemented draw pixel, and like it looks after everything else like under the hood. So it's probably not super efficient or whatever, but like as in you get full like font support, like or squares and circles and whatever else you want. And yeah, so it's pretty nice. So yeah, that's kind of using Adafruit GFX for something it's not meant to be used for, kind of. But like what should be nice about this now is you should be able to connect even more panels and set them up in a grid or set them up 4 vertically or whatever. And yeah, it works fine. So that's that one. The other thing that I want to show is kind of a secret project. So this will be my first time showing it, even like I haven't shown it on Twitter or anything. So let me just set up my my phone here, and I'm going to play some music. I'm not going to play it out loud so I don't get copyright striked. And I have what is this? An NFC sensor connected to this matrix board. Now I don't have anything. I don't have anything displaying on the matrix yet, but I'm just using like spare pins from my matrix board. So what I'm going to do here now is I have a little NFC sticker. I'm going to hold that up here, and I don't know if this is connected or not. Oh yeah, so my hand was in the way, but it's after changing song here. So I have the URI of that song stored on this NFC tag. So when I want to change to a particular song, artist, or album, I can just pull it in front of the NFC reader, and it's using the Spotify API library that I've been working on. So it makes a request directly on the ESP32 to tell my Spotify what song to play. So yeah, looking forward to finishing that one out. It's gonna be fun in my house having like my daughter being able to control the music with single boops or whatever. Deshepu, do you know your phone already has an NFC reader? It does, but it isn't a physical thing that my daughter can use. So yeah, it should be a fun project. Okay, then the next thing that I have here is I have what is hopefully the final revision of my my Flexi friend. Just get the focus on. It's not focused. We can do it. There.
You think all of us know how to focus the camera by now, right?
Yeah, so I have like I don't know. So I'm still using my C920s, and the focus bar is terrible. Like I've looked into it a few times, and I would love a physical like rotation, rotary encoder to adjust my focus. Like, and I don't see any way of programmatically being able to control that. The closest I got is like using some C# libraries, but it needed to have control of the webcam. Mm-hmm. Like it couldn't, like if OBS had it, wasn't able to do it. So yeah, this is the Flexi friend. So it's USB-C in. Plug in this thing here. It's USB-C.
C# to C#.
C# to C#. Yeah, so
focus pulling. Okay, bad joke. Sorry.
Focus pulling.
USB-C in, and so it's using power delivery, and it's negotiating 20 volts, and you can also switch it to negotiate 15 volts if needed. And it has an XT60 connector on the end of it. So I'm using those kind of like generally available XT60 wires for the TS100 because they are super flexible, and I haven't actually burn tested it yet, but I'm pretty sure they are fairly heat resistant too. So what that's for is being able to plug in my TS100. So there is my TS100 being powered by my MacBook charger, and I also have some power delivery USB or power banks as well, so I can power it from that too. So that is like the TS100 is 65 watt capable, but that's at 24 volts. So at 20 volts, it's closer to a 50 watt iron. So it's still more powerful than the TS80P, which has got USB-C power delivery built into it. But when I was testing it, it actually, even though there was like 20 watts in the difference, it didn't they heated up around the same time. Like actually, the TS80P was a bit faster, so maybe this is a little bit more efficient than the TS100. But yeah, so that is coming along. I should be getting a delivery of the IP2721, which is a power delivery negotiating chip that doesn't require any external IC to program it. You control it using just the input. So I'm switching that switch there, and so my MacBook charger can only do 5, 9, and 20 volts. So it'll take the next highest below what you're asking for, which mightn't be great in all scenarios. So it's something to take into consideration if you're using an IP2721, but it's not a problem for the TS100. Okay, and then the last thing I want to show is, do I have a better way of showing this?
Oh, just before you move on to the next project, I just noticed on the last one that you put the power selection switch backwards, like we were chatting about on Twitter, I think it was. You were asking about the best way to do that. So are you happy with how that's turned out?
Actually, I am, because you can flick it even just using a finger or whatever, like just grabbing your nail in between, and there's definitely no way you're going to flick it by mistake. I guess the one problem you might have with it is that it won't be accessible from the outside of a case now, which might be a problem for some people. But that switch is actually, it's really only needed for real particular use cases. So basically,
it's not something you would change very often. You would just set it and leave it.
Yeah, exactly. As in, if you have a 50 watt capable power delivery thing, you would never change it from 20 volts. It would always stay on the 20 volts one. The problem is if you have a power delivery supply that's capable of doing 20 volts, but not able to work at 50 watts or 48 watts or whatever the maths is for it. Say I have a 30 watt supply that can do 20 volts, but it can't provide enough current at 20 volts. But if you drop it down to 15 volts, because the TS100 has a fixed resistance in the tip of it, when the voltage drops, so does the current draw to maintain Ohm's law. So it's a huge power swing dropping from 20 volts to 15, because you're losing the voltage and the current too. So it works fine with that power supply if I switch it to 15, but it would actually hit the overcurrent protection of the power supply if you left it at 20 volts and tried to turn on the iron. So that is it's my first time ever getting ENIG on a board, and you don't even see it. So that feels kind of like a waste, but also feels like the right thing to do. So have them just waiting to get. What did you say, Seon?
Did you find it easier to assemble with the ENIG rather than the hassle?
I don't know. It was pretty easy to assemble. It went well, and I even used my ancient paste that's 2 years out of date, and it was out of the fridge 40 minutes as well. So it was not ideal circumstances, and it went fine. So I guess maybe I'll give ENIG pat on the back for that. Yeah, okay, so the next one is something that I wish I didn't have this LED on now, but so this is what I'm calling the HID shield, so the D1 Mini HID shield. So Aaron Christoffel, I don't think he's in the chat today, but you see him floating about quite regularly, does a lot of work with the CH552 microcontrollers. So CH it's the same crowd that make the chip that's on most of the cheaper development boards, the CH350G. But yeah, so Aaron has been doing work with that, including actually on BitLooney's channel. They did a USB host project together that was using the CH559, so just same family but different chip. And so this is a terribly assembled board, so let's not pay attention to that part of it. But yeah, so Aaron wrote some code for this recently that it takes commands over a serial interface and converts them to HID on the USB. So what I have here is a shield for the D1 Mini. So this gets flashed using Aaron's firmware, and then you write code for the ESP8266 that controls the HID stuff from there. So I have a little simple demo of that. Yes, here we go. So I just have a couple of characters here. I have my phone, so hopefully this still works now because it's been a while since I tested it. So like this is a web interface hosted. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe if I turn down the brightness of my phone.
Oh, we could see that pretty well. We could see it was working.
Yeah, so there's it's just a web interface hosted on the ESP, and so when I press the button, there's an AJAX command being sent to the ESP, which is then sending a UART command to the CH552, which is then sending a HID command on. So like I don't have a huge amount of functionality built into this exact version here, but you can see like it's pretty
very
fast.
Responsive. Yeah, I'm not seeing lag there.
Yeah, like it's quite fast. So the idea, like my overall idea is to build like we use like a under the TV like Android box. We use the Fire TV, the one from Amazon, and like I'd always really wanted to have a way of controlling that using my phone, and like why I didn't just use an Arduino Pro Micro and an ESP, I'm not 100% sure. Like that definitely would have been a way to do it, but I really wanted to build like a HID shield, and I could have done it using the Pro Micro, but yeah, I kind of like this. So it has a couple of touch buttons as well. The CH552 has the ability to have a touch interface. One of them enables the bootloader of the CH552, which I really need to disable because that's not great that you can just touch a part of the board and suddenly you're in bootloader mode and it's not working anymore. So but what I'd like to do is to get to a stage where I can press that touchpad and it will actually go back to the ESP and say, hey, what's your IP address? And type that out onto the screen. So like that will be a way of figuring the board's IP address out, is like literally just touch that button and it will just like blurt out the IP address onto the screen. So yeah, like this project,
I like that idea.
Yeah, this project, the CH552 stuff, like that's that's just a UART interface. So the fact that this is an ESP on top of it using Arduino or whatever, that doesn't need to be like, it could be anything. You could have it with a Raspberry Pi or any CircuitPython stuff or anything. So I think that might be an interesting board for some people to check out, like to see Aaron's project and maybe make some interesting things with it. that is basically what I have.
Brian, can I just say, I've
Yep.
never seen you so prepared. Well done. Well done.
So prepared. That's why I went last. I joined the StreamYard like 10 minutes before it started. Everyone was like, "Oh, is Brian coming? Where is Brian? Where is Brian?" Because I have to be here to let people into the thing, and so that's why I was last.
Can I ask a quick question about your RFID card
Go for it.
Spotify thing? It's just I was wondering, because you mentioned obviously you can choose a song ID and you've put that into the card. Presumably you could do that with a playlist
Yep.
or an
Yeah,
album
you
as
can.
well. I just think that's I think it's a really interesting way for somebody who's perhaps not used to using technology could then make a music player. And I really like the idea of somebody having a whole bank of RFID cards that they're flipping through, like getting out an old LP or something and flicking through. That's the
like
one I
I
want.
was actually, I was talking to Seon about this the other day, and like one of the things that I thought might be interesting is to put those stickers into like CD cases and stuff. So like if you want to put on an old album, you literally lift your CD case up and you boop it off the NFC thing.
That's a really neat idea. Yeah.
A nice physical interface.
Get a USB barcode scanner or a serial scanner. And you can
think
scan
I've
in
seen
barcode on the
recently-
CDs, and then you can play it on Spotify.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Why am I showing my desk? So this is one of the examples of that comes with the library. So the library is I haven't released it yet because I'm still working on it, but it is functional and it's available for people to start using now. The only caveat I'd put with that is that I'll probably be changing it. So, expect it to change or possibly break your whatever you implement, as in you might have to update it later or whatever. But so this is my play advanced section. So this is kind of examples of the code that I was doing with the NFC thing. So play a single track. So if you just have a single track, play multiple tracks. That's kind of like building a playlist almost on the fly. So like you could say, I want to play this song, and this song, and the three of them will show up in your next to playlist or whatever. Play album is there. You can specify a track number of an album. So that's actually quite useful, because if you just do play single track and say you play like the second song from an album, that's all it will play. It doesn't play the, as in it won't move on to the next song of the album if you just do play a single track. But like if you specify that either the track number or like the next one is saying, hey, I want to play this song, but with the context that it's also being played on this album. So when that song finishes, it'll move on to the next one. One of the things that I didn't show here, because I didn't have enough matrix displays and I didn't currently have it set up, is I also have examples of fetching the album art and pulling it down and putting it on. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that I wasn't showing my screen large. So I was talking about examples and none of them made sense. But yeah, so play a single track, play multiple tracks, play album, specify specific tracks, play a specific artist. So it's pretty flexible. What I've been doing to write the cards so far is to just do it from my phone. You can get these Spotify URIs from the desktop client. You don't seem to be able to get it from your phone. Now you also have access to them on the ESP like itself. So like if it was playing a song you liked, you could go, hey, save that song. I want to be able to play that later or whatever. So that's pretty much it. This is slanderous. That if Brian ever complains a bit too long, I've been talking for like 15 minutes. Bitlooney has told stories that take 15 minutes about like casting his hand. That took about 20 minutes, I think. So slander.
I don't think it's Brian's fault that this one has taken so long.
Yes.
I have a question about the Spotify stuff. Can you also, because I'm always listening on my device that has a name that I don't want to say right now.
Yep.
So can you like swap the devices? That would be pretty cool.
Yes, I don't actually have an example of that, but built into the, I better make myself big again while I think of it. So built into the options. So say like there's a play and there's a device ID. So like in this get player details, so if you call that, you will find out the like player details that you're currently on. I don't know if there's a good way of getting, maybe there's a like an endpoint that lists all the players that you could potentially be on. I haven't figured that out yet, but if you played on that device you don't want to mention and called this get player details, as part of that you would get the device ID back. So then when you say you want to play an individual song or whatever, you can specify the device ID. So even if it's currently playing on your phone, it would move to the other thing. Now, I haven't actually tested playing specific songs on that device, because there is a thing here is restricted that I'm a little bit worried about. That like basically this says if this flag is set to true, you can't call the web API on it. And I don't know, I presume the thing you don't want to say is made by Amazon. Sometimes it goes like, oh, we don't support that feature on Spotify, only Amazon Music. And I'm kind of wondering whether we'll run into that. Like I can definitely see what's currently playing, but I don't know if I've ever skipped tracks and stuff with it. So yeah, I'll have to test that one out. So yeah, this has been a huge library for me to write. Still working away on it. I'm a terrible C++ developer. I'm trying to move away from strings and move into const chars instead. And yeah, like just nice. One thing actually that was quite funny, and I'm sorry, Bitlooney, for wasting your precious time. So this get image method, I spent longer on parsing the URL into like individual chunks. So I'm allowing the user to pass in a full URL. So HTTPS, like whatever the URL is, whatever the path after that is, and to like separate the server name or like the location, like the website name, and then the path after that, like took me longer to do than the actual fetching of the image data, just because I don't know C++ at all, and I'm trying to just use like string compares and string searching for string characters and stuff. Learning experience. It was fun.
Nice. So
with any luck, it should be pretty memory efficient, but we'll see. It seems to run pretty reliably so far. I haven't seen any issues with it, but my plan for the NFC one is to have the album art displaying matrix code with the NFC thing all in one project. That's why I have that NFC one connected to the matrix pin. I actually ordered more matrix boards there recently, and I specifically broke out extra pins because I knew I wasn't going to have enough to connect up that sensor. So it seems to be working well. So happy with it.
Cool.
Okay, I have no quiz. I was going to type it out earlier, so I didn't want to disappoint people ahead of time. I just like to disappoint people in the moment.
I heard Bitlooney has a quiz. That's why he was late.
Yeah, Butterfacts.
Pass.
Pass. Yeah. So
pass the butter quiz.
Yeah, unless anybody has anything else that they'd like to plug or mention or talk about, or if there's a question in the chat in the next couple of minutes, then we'll finish up. Oh, what Dave has something else to talk
Yeah, I
about.
forgot to plug my latest Element 14. Oh, sorry, Elephant 19 video.
Yes.
And I made a thing, and I would show it, but it's like in parts already.
How is it in parts already?
Because it was never fully sealed and closed and in one piece.
Movie magic.
Yes. But yeah, it was a pretty fun design, though. It's like blinking buttons. And I saw something like a badge for what was it? I'm sure maybe you know the badge with the 4x4 button matrix LEDs under it for a recent conference that might have happened.
I did see it. I don't remember which conference it was for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
it was
they had this.
Yeah, the 4 buttons was a synthesizer, I think.
Yeah, I think it has a lot of potential. There's like someone made a game that's the 2048, where you move things, and they just did it with colors, and I thought that's a cool idea for the device that I made. But yeah.
Yeah, it was Camp Zone 2020 from Hack Zone here.
The idea of like putting the buttons out to the edge so you could have the LED in the middle, that was nice. Sorry, like the diffusion of the button was really good.
Yeah, I was first thinking of just having one button in the center, but then you would have something in the 3D print that has a cone or just presses on the thing. So then it would be getting darker in the center. So I was like, oh, maybe just use 4 buttons and just one has to be pushed and it's triggered. Yeah.
I know there was a lot of like technical stuff in it and things, but like by far my favorite part was the wire stripping scenes. He just had like it done to the beat of him, you know.
It was completely different music, and it was, but yeah, it kind of pulled you out and was like, wait, what was I watching?
Yeah, it was good. I liked it because I hate wire stripping. So yeah, anything that shortened that trip up to be like succinct was good for me.
That was not my idea though. That was Max, the editor that put on the music, and I was like, nice job. Yeah.
Jeez, I need one of those editors. That'd be nice. Yeah. Anybody else want to pimp anything or push anything?
Yeah, make sure to subscribe to everyone, follow everyone, buy all the stuff on Tindy. Links in the description.
Buy all the stuff from Tindy. Doesn't matter who it is. Buy it all. Everything.
Yes.
Big Looney should be the next host, right?
Ooh. Another thing that I did, I guess it's kind of a weird thing to talk about on a Makercast, but I wrote a blog post about like some of the things that like I struggle with making. I didn't want to talk about it because it like bring down the general tone of it, but if people want to check that out, they can. I'll link to it in the description.
I forgot to read that, but I wanted to read that before we do this thing here.
I read it before we started, and it touched a lot of points I thought that I feel myself.
Kind of like my motivation for writing it was like literally I was like apologizing to my GitHub sponsors because I haven't been delivering on what I say I'm going to deliver in the reward section. And like as I started just writing it, and I was like, where is this going? And I was like, maybe I should just post this publicly. And I didn't even like review it too much what I was writing because I didn't want to like edit it too much, which sounds kind of weird, but I didn't want to, I don't know, almost censor myself, if that makes any sense. If I went back and read something again and I went, oh, I don't like the look of that. So there is some things in it that I don't like. Looking back at it now, I don't like fully like how they came across. Like the Tindy thing makes it sound like I'm really ragging on, the Tindy stuff. Like I almost like despise an order coming in or something. Like that's not the case at all. But yeah, just reading back at it now, I'm kind of like, maybe I don't like kind of emphasize the highlights of Tindy enough. But
No,
yeah.
I think
guess-
that came across well, though. I know exactly what you were getting at with that. And for me, it's like a feeling that there's a treadmill and you keep doing something over and over again, but you're never done because the same job just has to be kept repeating over and over again. So once you're started on it, you're on it.
Yeah, nobody becomes a maker to do admin. And it's kind of, you know, that part of Tindy, I guess. I'm not a Tindy seller, so I don't know, but that part of Tindy, I guess, is a burden, a weight that you have to bear to be a successful Tindy seller.
Yeah, actually, one little illustration of I think what Brian is talking about is when I ship orders. Generally, I've been shipping them 6 days a week. So I go down to the post office on a Saturday morning to take orders that have come in late on Friday. And when isolation started here in Melbourne, my local post office was no longer open on Saturday morning, and not having to do Saturday shipping just felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And when that sort of thing is taken away, you realize how much pressure you've been putting on yourself to fulfill everybody else's expectations and to stay on that treadmill.
Yeah, like we have backed off a bit. I guess some of it is COVID related in terms of like we don't go to the post office as often as we used to. Like we only go once a week now. Maybe like depending on how busy we've been, like maybe there could be 5 orders, 10 orders, 20 orders. It kind of doesn't matter. Just we go once a week because the US ones have to go to the post office anyways. So we actually before we moved, we lived much closer to post boxes and we could send most of them that way. So like if I was kind of like just wanted to take a walk, you know, during work or during lunch, you know, I could walk like 10 minutes to the local post box. I can't do that anymore. But yeah, so it does take a weight off to like not have to go to the post office as much. But you know what's funny then as well? Sometimes like if I'm not keeping on top of actually packing orders, I find myself like on a Monday night going, oh crap, now I have like 15 packages to pack because stupid past Brian hasn't been chipping away at this. He's just let a week worth of orders build up. So yeah, but yeah, so that was one thing. Yeah, kind of weird one to talk about on Makercast, but I think it is important in some ways to acknowledge that like if people think that like, geez, Brian gets loads of stuff done, it's not as good as it looks, or yeah, I don't know exactly how to. It's not without its costs or whatever. I don't know exactly how to word that right, but yeah. Okay. Does anybody have anything else that we could finish on?
Right.
What did you say, Seon?
Sleight of hand and showmanship.
Yeah. And I genuinely feel bad about that in terms of like that's the thing that you push out to the world is all this like, yeah, I got this working. Like you never go, hey, I got this working because like I stayed up all night. Or maybe you do, and maybe that's part of like the appeal, but I don't know, you never really talk about how hard it was or, you know, what, you know, went wrong or how you're feeling crap about it or, you know, those things don't normally come up. And then, you know, and even if you did kind of talk about them, they're not the ones that are going to get shared a lot. So, you know, people will go, geez, look at all these projects that people are getting done. And here's me, like, you know, I'm not motivated to start this or what, Dev?
Sorry, I was just adding, like, not finishing one of your 100 projects and everyone else is, like, doing all these kind of cool things. But it's all... I don't know. I have so many projects, and people think probably like, "Oh, Dave, he's doing so much," and I'm like, "I'm not finishing it at all. It's like 80% of the work," and I'm like, "Okay, that's pretty cool. Move on." But to make something really nice and impressive for myself, I would say that's the other 20% of work that also needs the 80% of time. So yeah, everyone is. You have to be honest about yourself and what you're doing. I guess that's. To yourself and to everyone else, and then people believe. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying that, and I also said that my project on element 14 is a bit fake. I wasn't that honest. So, yeah. No, it's working. I just have to glue it back together. So.
Okay. Does anybody have anything more positive to finish up on? So we're at the end of our Sunday evening for most of us. It's Monday morning, so it's the start of a new week, regardless of where you are. What are the
Anyone's
good things we want
birthday?
to talk about? It was my birthday during the week. I am a meme
birthday, Brian.
age for me. I'm 30.
Happy
I'm
birthday, Brian.
33. I've been practicing.
33. Nice. You have to host
33.
number 33 of Makercast, definitely. I mean, it's how many years? One?
There's 12 every year, so it won't be
1.5.
43.
We're at 19?
It's just a year from now, right?
Yeah.
Right, 14 months.
Mm-hmm.
So what year were you hosting, Arturo?
Yeah.
I'm not 19.
2025?
This is 19, so.
Was that too soon for you? You still need more time to prepare.
We'll get it done.
The pressure. We're
Yeah.
putting pressure on Arturo to host. Come on, everyone in the chat.
I don't think putting pressure on people to host is a good idea, especially on stream.
You're too nice, Brian.
Seon, you haven't seen how I stream, so that's why you think I would make a good host.
I think you underestimate yourself.
I think you underestimate the amount of effort that goes into being the host. You're just like, here, you talk, so I can go on mute. Hey, you talk, so I can go on mute. The hardest part is actually like setting up the thing and whatever, which is fine. Seems like everybody was born in July by the looks of things. Yeah, so happy birthday to John as well. It was his birthday last week. And happy birthday to Bob. Collins was recently as well, I think, and whoever else was
Electron Ashes today.
Electron Ashes today.
Oh, really?
Happy birthday,
Happy
Electron
birthday.
Ash.
Happy
Everybody.
birthday.
Yeah, I forget what age I am, legitimately.
Yeah.
And I kind of hate my birthday, not because of getting older. I don't care about that. I hate attention, which is weird for somebody who has a YouTube channel. But I hate people go, oh, happy birthday. It's like I kind of like, thanks. I really don't know what to say. It's like, so I don't know. It's socially awkward of me, but I can't explain it. But yeah.
I think we're the extroverts of the introverts.
Possibly. I think I'm just weird, to be honest. Yeah. Okay. So I don't see any questions in the chat. So let's finish up. Thank you, everybody, for joining. The next one will be on somebody's channel, maybe at the first Sunday of September, whatever that is.
Thank you to our host as well.
Yes, thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Adam, and all. So, thanks, everybody. And let's finish up there. Okay. Bye-bye.
Good morning or good night.
Good night, good morning. Bye-bye.